guys, welcome to Off the Pitch. Today we have a couple of amazing gentlemen. We have two amazing guests with us, Mr. Abhishek Mukherjee and Arunabha Sengupta, two cricket historians, two prominent journalists. Uh, I've been reading their write-ups for a very long period of time. It's amazing to have both of you. Thank you so much for joining. And how are you guys? How are you both?
Yeah, good, good.
Thank you so much for joining. So, uh, for our viewers, Abhishek sir and Arunabha sir, they've both written a book together. It is Sachin and Azhar at Cape Town. So, this is a book based on the 1997 epic partnership that there was an epic partnership between Sachin Tendulkar and Azharuddin back in 1997. So, they've decided to write a book upon it. So, I think it might be a little intricate as to many people as to why there was a book written on one partnership, because what it's far more deeper than what meets the eye. So obviously, what we know that it was a very epic partnership and everything, but again, you decided to write a book on it. I'm sure there is a greater context to it, a much deeper political, non-cricketing context to it as well, a little bit. So if both of you could explain why you decided to write about this, starting with Arunabha sir.
Yeah. So, firstly, 1997, and if you remember the cricketing context out there,
Yeah.
so India had been bowled out for 100 in their two innings at Durban, and
Yeah.
this was the second test, and South Africa had piled up 529 for seven. And by the end of the second day, India were very little, very few, and already 3 wickets down. And on the third morning, 58 for 5
Yeah.
against 529 for 7. And the partnership that followed, it was remarkable not only for 222, Azra and Sachin, but it was the best bowling attack at the time against them. Donald, Pollock, Cleveland, it doesn't come better than that. And at the same time, they attacked, counter attacked from both ends. So we have had rearguard partnerships of qualities, and there have been incredible partnerships in the history of the game. But here we saw them counter attacking from both ends. This bowling attack at that situation, back to the walls, they added at more than 5 runs per over, which was incredible in our opinion. And what we decided was that if it was any other country, like if it was played by two, probably we would have seen books about it already. Because I'll tell you what started us out, that in 1911, Ted Allison, he had played an innings of 189 in super quick time in first class cricket. And John Arlott had written one complete book, which was Allison's innings.
Wow.
Now, um, this innings, this partnership deserved a book like that. And apart from that, it was also a historic occasion, like South Africa playing against India. It's in the 90s. They had toured once in 1991, sorry, in 1992, 93. And at that time, in most of the passports, it was still written that Indian passports valid for travel in all countries other than South Africa.
Wow.
So they, yeah, so they were still at a period of history when like diplomatic relations were still quite complicated. South Africa, as a cricket team, had not any non-white side till 1990, and this was a period when this apartheid regime had given way to the modern regime, and things were changing. Mandela was out of the prison, and he was a as well. He used sports in a very, very astute way in developing the country and uniting the country, which we have seen this probably. And to cap it all, to add to the drama of the situation, this was the day when he visited the ground, and Azhar's tremendous partnership took place in front of him.
Wow.
So, in this context, this entire as well as the drama behind it. And while writing about it, what we do is we cover And in between, you also talk about the history of the two countries and fascinating political scenario, the diplomatic ties, and not only the South Africa, but also the Indian history, how it was changing in the 1990s. It was they had opened up the economy, and after that, the satellite TV taken place. Before this, we saw only highlights of cricket that took place in overseas grounds. This was the third series that we were watching live, and this was quite a incredible time in the period for cricket history into context. Abhishek can probably add on to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just to this, we must understand that India and South Africa have a unique relationship. See, there are many bilateral tests world. They have all been named after great cricketers. The India South Africa series is not named after cricketers.
Yeah.
It is the only series that is named after non-cricketers. That is probably because, not probably, that is because the history, the relation between the two goes deeper. See, if we start with Gandhi, Gandhi's career as an activist took off in South Africa.
Yeah.
He went for a year and he spent 2 decades there. So, and throughout that, both Gandhi and Mandela fighting similar battles, maybe to different extents. They had their different ways, but were fighting against a common opponent, put it like that, against a white regime. So that is one separates the two countries. This is beyond cricket. And as Arunabha mentioned, in the 1990s, the modern phase of Indian cricket, Indian followership, Indian viewership, that took off with the advent of satellite television in the 1990s, early 1990s, which was also the same time when South African cricket resumed. So basically, this is unlike the two countries, the modern era of the two countries, cricket. They started and advanced almost simultaneously. The series was part of a two series, what do you call it, two series contest. South Africa played 3 tests in India, and immediately afterwards, South Africa to play 3 tests. So, and after India won the series at home 2-1. Then South Africa played the first test in Durban. So if you combine the two, you can think of this as a 6 test series with the series standing at 2-2. So now
Yeah.
this becomes big. And now, so as he mentioned, that 529, then 58 for 5, it was an impossible rear guard act. What makes this? I mean, you usually see, again, he mentioned this, when the odds are this stacked, when the odds are completely stacked up against you, typically what we see is one person going after the bowling, the other person grinding.
Yeah.
But here, they were actually, after a while, racing each other for the 100 run, for their 100-run mark. Uh, Neither batsman could be stopped by a bowler. One of them was run out. The other was, I mean, whenever we share this story, mentioning, oh, and where the match where Adam Bakar caught Sachin Tendulkar. So neither was actually undone by a bowling effort. So that is another thing we need to address. I mean, the bowler, they dominated a full strength South African attack. This was probably the 4-pronged pace attack of the
Yeah.
1990s. We talk about Wasim and Wakar, we talk about Ambrose and Bishop and these 4 men, and Adams also has a nice record. You must remember that some of these bowlers were also all rounders.
Yeah.
It was as formidable a bottom half of a side that you can expect. And India had no batsman to follow other than absolutely almost no specialist batsman to follow after this. So it was a momentous thing. And the response we have received, one was the surprise at a book written on a partnership, but some of them told us that if One deserved a book. This was one. This was it.
Indeed, I think that's really a great way to put it. Yeah.
My question to the both of you in that context, something that completely stood out to me while trying to watch the extended highlights of and also trying to read up around the match. I completely agree with Abhishek sir when he says there was absolutely no hope beyond Sachin and Azhar, for any kind of a rearguard action. And I'm sure at the point that they must have joined together on the crease, there mustn't have been much hope as well amongst the supporters as well. Considering what the trend had been, at least during the 90s, towards the later half of the 90s, as in when the domino started falling. That is how that's how generally what the trend went with the Indian batting lineup. Just a question around another aspect, which also is sort of intriguing. Is it's the newish captain with the former captain, and both of them trying to salvage something out of an innings which has started so horribly for the Indian team. Was there any parallels that you guys drew in that context? Considering the huge role that Azhar had already had up until then in Indian cricket, whether be it in leadership or be it as a batsman, and the fact that Sachin had taken over the reins, and as it would later turn out, wasn't the most successful stint in his career. That perhaps the only aspect, sort of gray area in his fabulous career. But were there any parallels drawn with regards to that on your end?
Yeah, we have discussed most of the things around this partnership, like Indian cricket at that time and the different captains India have had, as well as the different sort of teams that they faced with, how the handover took place, how it kept changing. Like Azhar was the captain, then Sachin became the captain. Again, it was handed back to Azhar. And we have also been more analytic regarding this in the sense that yes, Tendulkar's captaincy was not really the best, though he was not the best or most successful of the Indian captains. But at the same time, we have tried to analyze what sort of a deal he was dealt, like sort of teams he was up against. So if you look at Tendulkar's captaincy, there were tours to South Africa and Australia, one after the other. There was this Jaya Surya and like scoring 340. And yes, it was not a very job that he had in hand. So we have contrasted it with some other factors or some other periods of Indian history as well. When we look at the partnership, the the two of them batting together, what was the dynamics between them, and sort of how this entire legacy of Indian batting was changing at that time. Like it was the decade like Gavaskar, Vengsarkar, Mahinda Ramana, they had already gone out, and then Azharuddin, and then later Tendulkar. They were like the passing the torch, not exactly passing the torch, but they were bearing the torch and going along with the rest of them, that Dravid and Ganguly and Lakshman who came later on. And we have looked at the Indian batting, how it developed, Indian team, how it developed through the years, as well as the different teams that these two generations. Yes, it was quite a turbulent period for India, and with the captaincy changing hands, why it changed hands, and all that is handled. And we also cover, interestingly, uh, Azhar's last series against South Africa. He really scored two impeccable hundreds in that series. And just before that, at Eden Gardens, he was like made into a villain when India lost against Sri Lanka. So
Yes.
all these come into the context, and so all that is dealt with.
Yeah, that's really incredible. So, again, writing a book together, it might have been a little challenging for both of you because I can see both of you are from different locations. So it must have been a lot of Zoom calling and a lot of emails going back and forth. So I'm sure there must have been a camaraderie developed between the both of you over the years. But how different or how difficult was that? How challenging was that to Abhishek sir first?
There was not a single Zoom call or
Oh,
any video call.
that's amazing. That really is amazing.
This is the first video call we are probably having ever.
Wow.
Wow,
That's
that's
really kind
amazing.
of you guys to actually,
Do that, yeah,
say yes
Yeah.
to this interview. Then.
yeah,
Okay. So how we collaborate? We used a Google Doc to. I mean, you can write together. Write and edit
Yes.
each other's. So the entire book is written conversational
Conversation.
format. So in a two-person conversation, as a
yeah.
two-person conversation, where we contradict and agree with each other at various points of time, try to provide two separate narratives of every event. So that is how it mostly worked. And there, of course.
Indeed,
Yeah, it's technology makes everything possible, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
it's Google Docs and edit them together, so we can like basically have a conversation while writing the book, and have it all online. The way we did it.
Having said that, I think it would have taken years to write this had there been, I mean, had this level of technology not been there.
Mm. And
Yep.
to uh, answer a bit more about this, if you look back at our past, so we worked together in cricket country, and
Yes,
there
yes.
Hmm.
we had a series of articles on the all-time 11s, all-time 11s of different countries like India,
Yeah.
Pakistan, West Indies, and all that. And all these articles were co-written in this format, in dialogue format. And for that, we didn't use Google Docs. We used the Google Chat. You know, so when we can do something just over chat, yeah, it is possible to write a book like this.
Indeed.
That's
So when did you start writing upon this book?
Uh, yeah, the I think when COVID stopped everything else, that was the when that was the
Yeah, in June, I think.
Wow.
yes.
June, by July, we were done, I think.
I was expecting
incredible.
it. Yeah, I was expecting a year or something. So it happened quite quickly, in fact.
No, no,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely not more than a month.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
but
Yeah.
one should remember that we had discussed this idea quite often, that
Mhm.
Yeah.
this partnership definitely deserved a book, and because of a number of reasons, because of the background and what happened before this, and like lots and lots of history between the two countries. We all know that it was Clive Rice's team which came to India to after they were readmitted into the cricketing world after the apartheid era. But if we dig a bit more, we see that that was not the first South African side to play cricket in India. The first side that had come was in 1921. Yeah, as far back as 19, because there was a community of Indians who lived in Natal. Yeah, and they had come from there and they had played matches out here. So all these together, it's a very complicated history and a very interesting background. So we always thought that this particular partnership with that background could make a very good book, and we were always thinking that we should write it. But this COVID really provided
Yeah.
us the opportunity.
If you, even today, if you see matches in Nepal, especially Durban, you'll see a lot of Indian supporters in the crowd.
Yeah.
Because Durban has a huge Indian population.
Yeah, they have population. They all went for these for manual labor coolies and became shopkeepers. At the same time, they were third era. They were called Asiatic castes, and they were not given citizenship till 1961. So all these point to a very complicated relationship. Not only the blacks in South Africa, also the Indians, the mixed race. It was a very diverse diverse and very tragic as well as colorful history. Colorful with multiple connotations on the word color.
Yeah, indeed.
Uh, that's incredible. So, from the both of you, and just carrying this particular theme along, uh, I'm sure there must be multiple instances, multiple matches, maybe multiple players, who must have inspired you as you were growing up, or while you were starting out in a profession or something on those lines. I'll start with Abhishek sir first. So, any favorite childhood or favorite yesteryear memory that really stuck with you, with respect to cricket as well? Any player or any match wherein you all often hark back to that particular match, because for a lot of us, I guess we can talk about the 2001 match at Eden Gardens. For me, as a young kid watching it with my father, that particular memory is imprinted in my mind. Just 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 being in awe in that weather, could bat for 6, 7, 8 hours continually. We can see them wilting in front of our eyes, and yet they continue. On those lines, any memories on your behalf?
See, I think the first, the memory that's still there is of the second tied test, that is
Yeah,
1986,
86. Yeah.
and less than a
86
year
Madras.
after that, less than a year after that, India Pakistan test at Bangalore. And I think I watched almost every match of the 87 World Cup. So 87 World Cup season is more prominent in my memory than, say, 2015 or 19, because I mean some memories are still there.
Yeah.
So, a similar question to you, Nabasa.
Um, the 83 World Cup, if I remember correctly, I mean, we were all sitting in front of our TV sets, and Doordarshan was somehow achieved the miracle of telecasting that live. But you know what? Suddenly, is that the microwave link, as they call it, microwave link used to go down, and you are watching Desmond Haynes batting against Balwi. Suddenly, Mohammad Rafi would come in his suit and start singing. That means the link had gone down and the match was interrupted. And we, like, the tension of the match was not so much as India was defending 183. It was that the link could go down anytime and we might not be. This was the extreme tension that we dealt with. And that was also late at night, and we did not have too many matches being telecast late at time. So, and I was not even 10, so it was quite a memory. And after that, suddenly the end game in India changed because of that victory. That one day internationals became very popular, and cricket gained in popularity like nowhere else. And suddenly, World Cups in England. We were hosting the World Cup in 1987, and in between 1986, we actually defeated England in England. Suddenly, everybody thought that India could win everything, and that was not the case really, because we were also blown away by West Indies. So that really introduced me to cricket, and then yeah, it to me it was always a kind of a snapshot of what we were going through. Like India was the quite a secluded nation, and suddenly they opened up, the world market opened, and people started going abroad, and suddenly we had this 1990s India started competing at a global level, a bit had done earlier, you know, even in the cricketing way, with Tendulkar coming in and all the new Kumble's and Srinaths and all of them coming in. So it has been quite a journey from there, 1983 onwards.
Yeah, but telecast in 1980s, watching cricket in India was an experience that is difficult to. I don't know how to convince others. I mean, say, first of all, an antenna on top of every household.
Yeah.
So you needed two people to watch a match. The first one would watch, and the other one would the other terrace to adjust the antenna.
Yeah,
So that is,
and if a crow sat on the antenna, it would change its
yes.
direction, and the transmission would go for a toss. Things would happen, and the telecast you could hardly see the ball most of the times. But still, we had heated debates. This was out. This was not out. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so
See, half the time, half the overs you could see from behind the batsman,
yeah,
Yes,
and you
because
couldn't spot the ball. So basically, we did a lot of guesswork. If in some matches the camera did not even follow the ball to the boundary, they just
yeah,
showed that's it. And in some instances, they would stop transmission to what to University Grants Commission show for 45 minutes.
yeah.
Say, I mean, at that age, I couldn't understand a thing.
Or
Say,
deaf and dumb play. That also took a long time. So,
yeah,
and suddenly they would stop transmission to show the prime minister inaugurating, I don't know, anything, some hospital somewhere. So that happened for 15 minutes, and this was random. This could happen anytime. Then
wow,
news was also on the same channel.
and
So
suddenly it all changed in like in 1990. There was just one channel, and the second channel had come in, and that was a great thing. Excitement that a second
mm,
channel had come in, and we could switch channels and watch two channels. And people used to joke, "What do you have in TV to watch? How can you have two channels running at the same time?" And now look at it. And then also, what happened that time? BCCI, they used to pay Doordarshan to this telecast,
yes,
no, no.
and
yes,
and suddenly, because of the India-South Africa relationship, actually, when the South Africans came in 1991, they that how could they get the matches telecast in South Africa? Who had the rights and who had this like who had this authorizations? How much has to be paid? And then BCCI suddenly realized that they were sitting on a gold mine, like they had this untapped source, and the entire world changed after that. And by 1996, because of the World Cup that happened here, the entire world of satellite television changed. And this was a great period. This entire change was happening, and this match takes place during that time. That's also something we
Yes.
know in great detail.
yeah,
So till I mean, they were fighting to stop. I mean, the Hero Cup, I think, 1993. So till the tournament, I mean, the first couple of matches were not shown on TV because it was not clear, because BCCI had sold the rights to TWI for a much higher rate. Doordarshan now realized that they actually had to pay money at this point, which was news to them.
yeah,
And so Doordarshan created a ruckus. They all obviously had government backing, and the first two matches were
yeah,
not shown. Then South Africa said, okay, South Africa were playing. South Africa said, we need to telecast these matches back home. About 2 years later, a World Cup was at stake. South Africa, in the interim period, South Africa threatened to draw its support towards the subcontinent hosting the World Cup, because I mean, this was one of the rare occasions. This was in the pre-apartheid era that South Africa actually uh, backed a subcontinent World Cup. This was unthinkable if you think of the greater context, if you think of the racial context. But that actually happened. But now there was this threat, and in the meantime, TW stepped in, and the rights for the '96 World Cup was sold at an astronomical price. And then Doordarshan had, I mean, realized that regarding telecast, it had to make peace with satellite television, and then everything started. Doordarshan wouldn't show test matches from outside Asia
Yeah, the first
till
one was in
okay,
'94, I think, that India went to New Zealand one test match, like one-off test
Mhm.
match, and that was shown. And after that, we
wow,
saw the '96 series in England. Those were the first were telecast live, and this was the third.
Yeah.
But
wow,
yet, the one problem with this series was that television channels had not mushroom that we had since 2001, and there were fewer of them. And so yes, the match was telecast, but this endless analysis nowadays, the retelecast, these didn't take place. And we were also at a very sort of black hole in the internet. Had come in, but they were not like producing articles like this, so not too much is written on this match. Yeah, and not too many analysis videos. If you look at some other eras and other innings, other triumphs, there are lots and lots of articles, like 20 articles about one match you will find if you come slightly down the line. And it also depends on the country. Like if you look at Michael Atherton 85 on the final day and saving the match, that has been written so much that we think that he used to do it day in day out.
Yeah.
So that's because there are a lot of British journalists who have actually written stuff like this.
Yeah.
There were not so many Indian journalists who had they had covered on that day, but they have not written, gone down the years we are writing about this match. So this definitely needed to be documented in a better way.
Yeah, I mean, that's indeed a great segue to our next question. So it's basically the entire, you've taken us through the entire history of the broadcast and satellites and everything. So
Yes.
yeah, now when we look at it, now there is the Indian Premier League. There are two, three channels where it is being broadcasted, and there are regional commentary available for it. There is the special dugout one, which is mostly what I would prefer, and I'm sure I know Abhishek sir also watches dugout a lot. So and now the all of these things are available. So I mean, uh, so how much do you guys follow the IPL? Are you like big fans of it, or do you have a different opinion about the entire advent of T20 cricket? So how do you look at that? Starting with Abhishek sir.
Okay, IPL I watched the full first season, as I remember.
Yeah.
Then I started following seriously once I went into the profession full time.
Yeah.
I had sort of, I mean, so in the interim period, I did not follow it seriously, I suppose. Regarding T20, multiple purposes. First is it brings money to the sport. That cannot be denied, and international big stars were already making money from not from playing. They were making money from advertisements, so they didn't have a. It is for the cricketers who never made it to the top level, Ranji cricketers who were not paid as much, under 19. So basically, people who are uncertain whether they should pursue a career in professional cricket or switch profession to do something else, that provides them with that kind of security. And with the money BCCI has, they now can pay pensions and better salaries and pension. That is one impact of IPL that cannot be denied. Secondly, what T20 is doing is it helping cricket spread across the globe.
Yeah.
See, it would have been very difficult to convince, see, the European nations to play 4-day or 5-day cricket. But
Yeah.
T20 is something will convince them. T20 is something can convince the South American nations. And IPL has done, and I really like this. They have given international T20 status to all matches all T20 matches, all T20 international matches in 2019. So
Yeah.
basically, now everyone comes into the picture. So it actually the format. The format is actually responsible for spreading the sport beyond the test matches. So now, make no mistake, test cricket. I've been hearing this since my childhood days that test cricket is gone. Test cricket will end. There, people are watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, the same news that people who say that ODIs will replace tests are now saying T20s will replace. Test cricket is there. There's no doubt. I
Yeah.
think cricket is sort of unique in this way that Test cricket remains as the classical format. Mints money and provides a different sort of entertainment. So people keep predicting that ODIs will go, and yet the ODI World Cup is considered the highest achievement in cricket. I don't know of any other sport which offers three variants like this, all of them coexisting.
Yeah.
They have specialists, they have cricketers who succeed across formats. I mean, this is probably something that makes cricket unique.
Yeah, same to Arunabha sir. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I left India for good in 2008. So
Yeah.
the IPL basically had that. And yes, you can call me a test match purist. I like test match cricket, but I cannot deny what IPL brings in. And if you look at it, as Abhishek pointed out, the security of the fringe cricketers and also the commercial benefits that allow BCCI to pay pensions. And also, when young is sharing the room with a Ricky Ponting or somebody like that, it doesn't have to be just T20 they're talking about. I mean, that's enormous on them. And that's a very, very, you cannot deny that the benefits that IPL has brought in. And yes, as Abhishek pointed out, we have been hearing Test cricket is going to die out for a long, long time. And every time there is an interesting match that concludes, we see lots of statuses saying that Test cricket is still the best and
Yeah.
Test cricket is the greatest and all that. But it doesn't have to be like that. Like in 1990, there was a book that was written, Test cricket, the end of the road. Like somebody had really pronounced judgment, won't survive. It's still there, and there are people who follow Test cricket, and they will continue to follow Test cricket. And to put it in brief, if you go back in time, there is no such thing in history which says that cricket is supposed to be played over 5 days and Test cricket is dead. Even 1860s or 1850s, we had seen cricket. Yeah, we had cricket over 2 days, we have cricket over 3 days. Even Test cricket has been played over 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, timeless tests. So
Yeah.
cricket is not, it is a sport which cannot be tinkered by formats, and it is very, very robust in that sense that even if it is tinkered, it will survive. Yeah, we cannot deny that IPL is a major, major reason why cricket will continue to thrive actually. So
See,
I personally don't like watching IPL that much because of different reason, that it seems very predictable, that it doesn't have that ups and have in Test cricket over a long period of time. It's
Yeah.
more of boundaries, but there are specific skills in IPL or T20 as well, which one needs to appreciate. Yeah,
Yeah.
the it is a different game. Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, you the captains need to think on their feet. So it's a different scale. If you want to think long term, what you have to do is immediate. You may be a bowler, your skill is death bowling, the opposition needs, say, 30 from scratch, and your job is to bowl overs 18 and 20. You don't get a loosener, you don't get to bowl a single loose ball. That you have a specific how to do this without any degree for error, without any room for error. That is a different skill, unlike the skills we see in Test cricket. So basically, two different kinds of specialists are emerging. Some, like Bumrah, have mastered all formats, but I think over time the sets will become more and more segregated.
Yeah, even if you look at the teams, some teams perform well in cricket, some in T20, some like the
Yes.
national teams.
Yeah.
Now, Abhishek and I had conducted a like statistical experiment to see, or statistical like test to see whether they are correlated. And what we found was Test cricket and one-day cricket are to a great extent that teams which are doing well in one format do well in the other format. But T20 is kind of a different ball game. So they're not correlated to tests and they're not correlated to 1 days even though we tend to think that T20 is very much like one day version. But
Yeah.
yeah, T20, there is no guarantee that if a team does well or an international side does well in T20, they will definitely do very odd one day cricket as well. It's a different set of skills.
As for sharing space with stars, I just remembered a video Rajasthan Royals shared today again,
Yeah,
where
Imran Tahir. Yeah,
Imran Tahir of Chennai actually gave a masterclass to
brilliant. Yeah,
Rian Parag.
yeah,
Yeah. So they are from opposing sides, and yet, I mean, there's no shortage of transfer of skills. This is, I
indeed.
mean, if you learn from Imran Tahir at the age of he's what 18, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
obviously you grow.
indeed.
And
Yeah, the
just
exposure is tremendous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I feel also with respect to just the sheer sense of self that a person can develop or can
Just
actually,
1 second.
yes.
yeah,
So just carrying on, just a sense of self or sense of confidence one can develop. In an environment wherein you see professionals at the top of their game, at the top of their field, working and actually trying to understand how what goes behind the whole process of being a successful sportsman or a successful trainer or a successful cricket analyst, whosoever. And I think through that, IPL is also given a sort of a roadmap to all the other major cricketing boards, and as we've seen, they have mushroomed up. But as Arunabha sir was saying, and he's a little, I'd say he prefers Test over T20. Let's just put it in that kinder terms. I personally feel either I've seen, in fact, from the ICL days, I've seen T20, team up and sort of take a hold of the Indian market, and the commercialization of cricket in that sense, ball to ball. It seems every step of the batsman and bowler is now advertised. So
Yeah.
on that advertising aspect, if either of you have happened to see any of the Sony back channels, you must have seen from I think towards the big end of last month only, India versus Australia, the Indian tour of Australia. Every fan is coming. Some fans coming and giving Smith some advice. Some fans coming giving Warner some advice and something and so on. I feel that's coming over right after the IPL. It promises to be one of the hotly contested and anticipated series in a few years. I would think. I think a lot of people did question India's victory over Australia with the fact that Smith and Warner weren't 2 years back. So
yeah.
starting with Abhishek sir. Sir, how do you see this series going? Because it's an interesting playing out for us. We've seen Indian bowlers, especially the fast bowlers, in really good form in the IPL. Agreed that conditions and the pitches and the surface and the grounds and everything else will be entirely different in Australia. But these guys, at least Shami and Bumrah, have fair amount of experience playing in Australia. They've played there quite often,
Ishant has to
and
recover. Ishant will
yes,
be. Ishant has to recover.
that I was about to come there. As far as third seam is concerned, we have Navdeep Saini. They might rope in a Deepak Chahar as a cover for the red ball team. As you said, Ishant Sharma, it will be a vital cog. So, how do you see the Indian team shaping up, sir? Matches that India play there, because we
Five
also
this time,
stand to
right?
have a day-night match.
Isn't it
Sorry?
5 this time?
Yeah, it's five. I think
Oh,
so.
so sorry. Right. The test matches, the test series India plays, and we in all probability will also have a day-night test match at Adelaide. So all together. How do you see
Okay.
that series going?
First of all, it depends on how much practice the Indian team gets together.
Yeah,
As we saw towards the in the early matches of IPL, fitness. Every commentator was mentioning fitness, whether they are match fit. The commentators were bringing up topics. They batted for 15 overs, 17 overs, and they were pointing out that these were basically sapping efforts. But that did not used to be the case. These people usually batted for 40, 50 overs in ODIs. So not playing together, not being in touch, made a difference. The Australians playing, they played in the summer, so the Australians are more in touch than the Indians. I'm not sure how much match practice this IPL will serve for a test series. These are different skills. So being in shape, practice is probably what may decide the series. As for fast bowlers, I would definitely pick Umesh. Is not fit. I hope he is. Ishant's fitness is going to be crucial. He has been one of he has been as good as anyone since that spell in Lord 6 years ago, if you look at the numbers. And other than Saini, I would again pick Umesh or someone who has been tried and tested in Ranji. I'll tell you why. Bowling 2 over spells is one thing, but going wicketless for half an hour or maybe 40 minutes, then coming back 2 hours later for a long burst,
Yeah.
that requires a different kind of skill. Staying fresh after at say maybe 4 o'clock after bowling 10, 12 overs, 15 overs in the day, sharing the second new ball at the end of the day. So that is another thing. Saini does not have that, but we have not seen. There's no evidence that he has that. He needs to be put to test for that. I'm sure he has that skill, but I would prefer the more experienced brigade, the tried and tested brigade of Ishant, Shami, Bumrah, and Umesh here. As for the day nighter, if the ball does swing, then I just hope Bhuvaneshwar is included in the side.
Yeah.
If the ball swings in the evening, that we have seen that happen in Australia.
Yeah.
I hope Bhuvaneshwar is there just as a backup. I'm not saying he should play, but he may be an option.
So, same question to you, Arnab sir. How do you, as Abhishek sir touched on the bowling attack, even when you look at the batting attack, when it comes to people not being in touch, we've seen, the likes of Cheteshwar Pujara not have any kind of match practice in that sense. I think coming into Australia raw, almost an entire year of no cricket. I think India got done with the New Zealand series in February,
Yeah,
and Ajinkya Rahane unfortunately hasn't been selected by his franchise, and whenever he's been selected, even today in his innings, he's got out for a first ball leg before, and also not had a lot of time in the middle. So how do you see the Indian batting shaping up, Arnab sir?
Um, it's a time in the of utmost essence because if you go back a number of years, they used to play a number of first class matches, conditions, and then go into the tests. That luxury is not there anymore,
Yeah.
and it is also a huge jump in formats. Um, bowling attack of India is probably the best fast bowling attack we have ever had. Not probably, it's the best fast bowling attack we have ever had. But there are two concerns. One is the out there, and this time Smith and Warner are going to be there. And secondly, one thing that always makes me up about the Indian side, if we look at uh, the England tour specifically in 2014 and 2018, in both these tours, we will see a particular pattern that up until the third Test match, India were going neck and neck. In 2014, they had won at Lords, they'd
Yeah.
drawn at Trent Bridge,
Yeah.
won at Lords, and then lost on the final day at this. And it was 1-1 at that time. After that, they totally lost it. Manchester and Oval, they were just blown away.
Yeah.
And in 2018 as well, they were 2-1. And there were so many comments about because they
Yeah,
had done such a good show in that after 36-37, no one has come back from a 2 down
yes,
to win 3-2. And even Ravi
Yeah.
Shastri was asked that question in the press conference. And all that happened, they didn't really go ahead to go on to do anything of that sort. They came closer than in 2014, but they didn't really. They lost 4-1. And one of the is, I remember a question asked at Southampton by somebody in the journalist, he the journalist asked Dhoni that, what do you think is the importance of a third test in a five-test series? And Dhoni was very, very significant there. He said, "I don't know because I have not played a five-test series in my life." That was the first five-test series in his entire career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And India is not used to playing five-test series. They have played some at home where the conditions are totally different because they are used to the home ground. But going abroad and playing five-test series does not happen too often. And five test series are 5-day matches, and if you don't have a regular habit of playing first class matches, you tend to run out of steam. And that's what happened in 2014. They went neck and neck for 3 test matches. After that, the team was out of steam. That's my reading of it. So that's something that the entire side, or be it the bowling, people will get stale and they will run out of this endurance because they are going from a different format. They are not used to the game, and they're not playing too much first class cricket. That
Yeah.
is a major concern for me.
See, another thing is we talked about Smith and Warner will return for the first time. Not for the first time. We saw 2 years ago. We saw a different Marnus Labuschagne. This is another thing.
Yeah.
So Smith and Warner are not
Yes.
two concerns. They have three now. They have a third one.
Yes.
And for India has to play Rishabh Pant. If needed, then Rishabh Pant and Riddhiman Saha. In the last tour of Australia, Pant batted 7 times and crossed in every single time. He has an exceptional record in Australia. I think he got more runs in that series. Finished just behind Pujara. I think he got more runs than Kohli.
Yes, sir, he did. He did.
He did.
He got more. He got runs every time he batted. If needed as a specialist batsman, I mean, but he should play given what he did 2 years ago. If
Sorry,
say
sorry, sorry, sorry. Please carry on. Sorry.
if Pujara bats like what he did 2 years ago, and if Kohli gets, I mean, Kohli be Kohli, then I think, I mean, Pujara and Pant did it against the same Australian attack that's going to be there
Yes.
this time. And Kohli had 6 years back, and Kohli has handled attacks in South Africa, in England. The last Australia series, it was not a failure, mind you. He did not do a Kohli. He just
Yeah.
was a very good batsman. That was it.
Yeah.
So
So just a point that I was going to both was, how do you see KL Rahul placed as far as the Indian Test setup is concerned? Because there have been calls to try to get him into the squad, and that's where I guess the expectation is even higher on Rishabh Pant, because with Pant, there's absolutely no doubt that he's performed whenever he's been asked to play. As far as the international tours are concerned, you can have a look at his batting performances in England in the same series that Arunabha sir was talking about in 2018. Scores a century, gets a 150 odd here in Australia, and consistently is a thorn. And also, the whole vibe that Rishabh Pant brings to the team. I love the Tim Payne Rishabh Pant, exchange, behind the stumps. He's box office. That individual just seems like sort of lost his way heralding back.
he was dropped. He was dropped, right?
Yes, he
He
was dropped.
returned from Australia.
Yes.
He got a couple of failures in West Indies. One of the easier oppositions. They were not England or Australia. He got runs in England. He got runs in Australia. He failed in West Indies, and he was left out at home. Where I was expecting him to be picked ahead of one of Rahane or Vihari and play him alongside Saha. Both Rahane and Vihari got big runs in West Indies, and Pant was dropped. It's interesting that you mentioned Pant and Rahul together. Why?
The partnership.
Rahul, I don't know. I have not seen Rahul keep in anything longer than 50 overs.
Yeah.
Matches is a completely different thing. Rahul Dravid is another example. He has kept in ODIs, but I mean, a test match 40 squats a day, even if it's nothing else. It requires fierce concentration. I mean, I'm sure Rahul has that, but to for it may be for 5 sessions, keep wickets, and then come out and open batting. It's not, it's going to be very difficult for one person. So Rahul as a wicket keeper is unlikely, but that's Haha is there. It's his birthday today,
Yeah.
and yeah, Chaha is there definitely. I mean, he should play whenever he is fit. He has also
Okay.
got runs overseas.
Yes.
So that is another thing. Since you mentioned Pant and Rahul together, I think if they had pulled it up at the Oval,
Yeah.
forget us. I think English journalists would have written a book on that partnership. That is
Yes,
something
that
worth
was
writing
Indeed.
as well.
yeah.
Indeed.
It was
Again,
incredible partnership.
yes. One session. Unfortunately, that is not talked about as much because India lost the test, and probably India overdid once one of them fell. They
Yeah.
could probably have shut shop. But I loved the fact that India actually went for it despite
Yeah.
losing 4 5 wickets.
Yeah, that was another this counter attack from both ends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is the partnership that comes closest to matching this one, I guess. But
Yeah.
even then, with the bigger bat, with all these T20 grounding that batsmen like Pant and Rahul have they did get to that run rate, that
Yeah.
Sachin and Azhar managed. This
Yeah.
222 in 40 overs, that was more than
Fabulous. Yeah.
5.5. And Rahul, they did exceptionally well, but they didn't match that run rate. So that makes it that tells you how unique that particular partnership was. And apart from that, Pant, he should be in an inside, if only to make those Swami Army go singing those songs again.
Yes,
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
of course.
So, before we let you guys go, I'm very sorry we've put you on for a very long period of time with us. So before we could just go, Arunabha sir, if you could just mention when the book is releasing to our viewers and where it can be available, so we can end on that note.
Now, the book is being published by Pitch Publishing, which is the one of the best or one of the sports book publishing companies in UK. And Pitch is looking for collaborations in India, so it should be available in when it's published. But the publishing date currently is 25th January 2021.
Yeah.
That is about 3 months from now. And it will also be available on Kindle, so electronic versions on Kindle, so people worldwide can access that as well. But have their own distribution in England, in Australia, in US. So these are the places it will definitely be available. Plus, we're looking for collaborations in India as well. So it will be available in India and also we are looking for that. So these are the two countries which are involved. So definitely it should be available.
Yeah, indeed wonderful. As if you could see in my background, I have a lot of these sports related books. Mostly it's football. There are a couple of Duncan Hamilton books there. I do take great interest in that, so I'll definitely I'm definitely waiting
Is
for the
that the
version to release.
Bairstow book? It's Bairstow book.
No, sir. This is Brian Claw. This is
Okay.
for
Fine, good.
Nottingham Forest manager. So I actually ordered Best of Book right before the lockdown, started, and the order was unfortunately cancelled, and again it never went on. But yeah. So again, thank you so much for joining. It was a lovely conversation. I know it went on for a long period of time, but thank you so much for your time. I really wish both of you all the very best for the book, and thank you so much again.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Pleasure
sir.
to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you.
We're really looking forward to the
Yeah.
release of the book and cannot wait to get together. It's fascinating trying to get to know more about the match as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.